Lab safety. Seems like common sense, right? Well, actually, we get so used to thinking that lab safety is a no-brainer that we forget our common sense. Violations of lab safety are actually more common than you may expect. Today we're going to show you a particular scenario that was a tragic result of common mistakes. Stay tuned. Hello, my name's Taylor. I bet you're wondering why I'm wearing sunglasses inside. It's not because I'm trying to look cool. It's just that I have no eyes. I used to have eyes once. Those were the good days. Now all that's left are some remnants of my retinas. This is my story.
It was a warm day in May when disaster struck for Taylor. She came into the lab feeling excited and dressed to impress.
Setting her backpack down, she began her reaction in a graduated cylinder. Suddenly, she realized that she needed the hot plate.
A master multitasker, Taylor reached over the table and grabbed the hot plate.
Ah, that's hot!
Taylor now had second-degree burns on her hands. In pain to the point of delirium, she ran to the nearest sink.
Little did she know, she would never make it to the cold water.
In heels, Taylor was extra clumsy, and she tripped over the backpack she'd left in the aisle. Her own backpack.
Her graduated cylinder went flying, sending sodium hydroxide straight into her eyes. When the broken glass cleared, it was easy to see that Taylor's eyes had disintegrated. Unable to see, she lay on the floor, sobbing.
That was the end of my life as I knew it. Any hopes of mine for a career in STEM were dashed. And to be honest, I can't bear to have the same thing happen to you. Please, learn from my mistakes.
At this point, you may be wondering, what mistakes is Taylor referring to? Well, let's start at the beginning.
Notice that, as she's walking into the lab, Taylor is wearing a miniskirt and open-toed heels. This is not appropriate lab attire. On lab days, you should be wearing closed-toed shoes, preferably flats unless you're a full-time stiletto wearer, and long pants. You should also, unlike Taylor, have your hair tied back.
Taylor begins mixing the standard sodium hydroxide in a graduated cylinder. If you're a chemistry major, this makes you cringe internally. Whenever you're mixing a solution, you should be using a volumetric flask. If you're performing a reaction, use a beaker or Erlenmeyer flask. Graduated cylinders should only be used for measuring small amounts of liquid.
And then, of course, Taylor picks up the hot plate without gloves. Now, this may seem like common sense, but never touch something hot in the lab with your bare hands. There is a very high probability that you will get burned, or made fun of, or both.
Taylor's next mistake was the one she made coming into the lab. Her backpack was placed in the aisle, making it very, very easy to trip over.
And trip over it she did.
Indeed, and unfortunately for her, the sodium hydroxide went flying.
But really, had she been wearing proper eye protection, she wouldn't have been as mutilated as she was. Taylor wasn't wearing goggles, which is, in a word, stupid.
So that's it.
What do you mean?
Don't you find it interesting how these small laboratory safety mistakes can lead to such an earth-shaking, life-changing disaster for Taylor? The fragility of human life never ceases to amaze me.
Interesting? Yes. Surprising? No.
Let's do a recap. Let's start with, you must know the difference between your lab equipment. Need to measure something? Graduated cylinder. Need to hold or heat something? Beaker. Need to mix a chemical reaction or hold or heat something? Erlenmeyer flask. Second, clear the walkway. Leaving your backpack out in the walkway can endanger you and your fellow classmates. It can cause liquids, glass, and all sorts of things to go flying. Third, we may have limited class time. I know it's tempting to run around the lab and try to finish when you're tight on time, but you can always utilize Block 7, and it's better to be safe than sorry. And lastly, lab attire. I think this is one of the biggest ones that many AP students are guilty of. Take a look at these 5 rules to keep you safe in the lab, and remember them the next time you're planning your outfit on a lab day. Thanks for watching.
Taylor, you're not looking at the camera.
I'm blind, you moron!
There, now turn your head and do it again.
Be safe in the lab. A message from ABC.